All right, thank you so much. I can see people already here chatting. Okay, thank you and they're welcome. My name is Wendy Ologi and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy. The Intentional Parent Academy is an academy for parents. And whenever people ask us, what do we do in the academy? I'd say that we help you learn how to parent your child. So, the Intentional Parent Academy is an academy that teaches you how to actually raise your children. All right, while we connect to all of our other platforms, I urge you to share this link with your family and your friends while we, start off this conversation. We also would like that you get ready because today's session is going to really be mind-blowing. So today we are looking at how to raise children. I call them the negative influence proof children. Okay, the negative influence proof children. There's something like that. Yes. So it's these are the children that you can raise without them just going the ways that every other person have gone. And so the topic is how to raise children with strong moral values. And every time we talk about moral values, a lot of parents would think that we are saying that these children should be perfect. That's one. Number two, a lot of parents would think that we're saying that these children should obey them all the time. That's not the conversation of the day. So today we are talking about children with strong moral values. And you will be learning how and what you can do as a parent to actually make a difference. Because the idea in parenting is what else you're doing. Okay? The idea in parenting is what else you're doing. Because there is always the extra. When I'm told to define intentional parenting, I define it as the extra. If you're just joining me, just put your comment in the comment section. Tell me where you're streaming live from and tell me if this is your first time. Put a hashtag and say first time joining you live. And if you are just listening to me for the first time, my name is Wendy Ologi. I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy, and I'm streaming live from the capital city of Nigeria, Abuja. Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. We're here every Tuesday at 2 p.m. talking about parenting from different angles, and today we're looking at how to raise children with strong moral values. I will advise you, get your pen, get your paper. It's a free class, but trust me, it's one of the most valuable things that would happen to you. All right? And apart from that also, you would also learn quite a number of things to do as to how to parent differently. So let's go. I'm going to start with a quote by Theodore Roosevelt. And it says, to educate a person in mind, all right? To educate a person in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace in the society. To educate a person in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace in the society. And if you look around you today, you would agree with me that this is not just about, just raising our children to have sound mind. I know quite a number of us, who have our children, sound-minded people, being able to do quite a lot and all of that, but zero in character. All right. I know that for, a lot. I work with parents, and many of the times, one of the things that I have seen mistake that parents keep making is that they pay attention. Parents pay attention to the mind, all right, where we're talking about the knowledge, when we're talking about school, when we're talking about intellectual, and they never pay attention. They never pay attention to character. And character is actually what makes the person. Character is actually what makes the person. If you're just joining us, tag a friend, share this link with a family friend or a friend or whoever that you think we need this conversation. Now, a case study that I have put together today is the case study of Robert Kelly, R. Kelly. Okay, I can see you guys, Yarders. I see you all. I see every single one of you. In the recent times, we've been talking about sex conversations. We've been talking about sex conversations. We've been saying a lot about, teaching children about character, actually in that aspect of the conversation. And, as we're talking about that conversation, a news broke. And I wrote this article on my timeline talking about, R. Kelly. And if you follow me, you would have seen that article, very, explicit, shared by many, and, went really viral. And I said that R. Kelly is a product of a failed family system. Such a brilliant mind, such an amazing person, have so much to offer to the world, was actually able to offer that so much to the world, but then again, he failed. It's become someone that is tainted with what we have been an ex-convict. All right. And no matter how it is that you want to put that out, that will remain a CV, a part of his curriculum for life. I want you to understand that the character of your child is actually much, much more important than just educating only the mind. And when that news broke about R. Kelly, I went in, I've been doing some studies, behind his background. The interesting thing, R. Kelly grew up in a Christian home, but there were fundamental things that were missing. Education of character, education of value system, and paying attention to the family as a whole. And when I was talking about that, and I said, no one is born promiscuous. Nobody is born gay, bi, pedophile, and all of that. It starts from how we're programmed in childhood. And this was a man who was programmed. Intentionally or unintentionally, you're being programmed. So when parents say to me, there is no manual to parenting, that is not true. There's actually a manual to parenting. The question will be, what is your manual structured from a place of knowledge, or you're just parenting and winging it? And when you wing it, many of us are parenting from a manual that we don't even understand. So when you parent from that manual, right or wrong, your children are intentionally going to leave that manual. I've seen quite a number of us in our generation who say, I don't want to parent the same way my parents have parented. But they are not learning the other way to actually be able to parent their children. What the resultant effect of that is simple. You will parent like your parents because there is no other thing that is replacing what it is that you already know, because you cannot give what you do not have. And in that story I was sharing, R. Kelly is the third child in the family. His father was never known, and of course, the effect of a child not being fathered, it's so huge. We're not going to go into that. We've had other videos right in this YouTube channel. If you're new to our channel, you can go over 300 videos, talking about different areas of parenting that you can actually learn a lot from. And in that, R. Kelly started being abused by age 8. So of course, he was abused by different people, including friends of his parents. Now, when it comes to raising children with strong moral values, you need to understand that you can never leave it to chance. If you do, anything you leave to chance doesn't actually succeed. Anything at all. If you leave it to chance, it's just going to just go anyhow. I say that in parenting, is either you choose probability or you choose intentionality. Whichever one that you're choosing, all right? Whichever one you're choosing, you must recognize that there is a price for it. Probability is going to give you 2/10, for instance. 5/10. Intentionality is actually what it has the ability to give you a 10/10 result. Now, values are important for you to live, all right? They're too important for you to say, my child is going to learn how to in a school. My child is going to learn how to in a school. And I see a lot of parents say that. Now, let me tell you what happens. Schools have tried to treat morals, but they are having a tough time doing it. The reason is simple. The window of opportunity to lay a foundation for morals actually ends by the time the child is about 6. By the time the child is about 6. So when the child is about 6, which is when about the time the child gets to primary school, and then they are trying to instill a lot of morals, there's a lot of resistance. I was studying this system, the Japanese system, their education and parenting system, and I realized that the Japanese insist that their children learn morals and character before they learn to teach the mind. Amazing. No wonder you can trade with trust in the whole of Japan as a nation, because they are taught how to actually live it. Now, the question is not whether to teach values or not, because we're always teaching values, whether intentionally or unintentionally. The question will be, what are we teaching? That's the conversation of the day. How do children learn moral values? They learn by observation. They learn by drawing conclusions. All right? They learn by drawing conclusions and about what they think. And your children will emerge from those conclusions. So at about age 8, you are no longer the most influential person in the life of your child. The first time I shared this with the parents in our academy, it was like, are you kidding me? Yes, I'm not kidding you. You're no longer the most influential. We say that you go to the 4th floor. I'm sure the parents in the inner circle program understand exactly what I'm saying. You go right to the 4th floor. When your child is born, you are at the topmost influential page between ages 0 to 7. By the time your child begins to turn 8, you begin to change your position. Now, the 4th floor is that place where you fight. Is that place where you get frustrated? Oh, yes. Is that place where you think they're no longer listening to you? That's the 4th floor. And I tell you for free, the 4th floor is an interesting place to be. If you're not prepared to be there, your child will make a mess. You will make a mess. So at the age of 4, the peer group of your children becomes the most influential of all, followed by the other adults, followed by the media, and then you at the 4th floor. Now, the question is not whether you should fight or anything, because I see quite a number of parents at the teenage age, that's why you fight your children. That's why you insist that the morals are not being followed and all of that. Right? Research proves, there's a snag to it. Research proves that the stronger relationship with your child, the more his word, including the opinions of his peers, is filtered through the values he picked up from you. Let me say that again. There's a research that proves over and again that the stronger relationship with your child, the more his word, including the opinions of his peers, is filtered through the values he picked from you. In other words, relationship trumps control in parenting. Someone help me write that. Relationship trumps control in parenting. Because relationship is the real currency if you're going to make a headway in teaching anything to your child. So relationship is a higher currency than control. So when I see parents who are fighting really hard to control their children, I usually have a very serious, interesting laugh, because usually you find out that I say that the misbehaving child is a child that actually needs the most attention from their parents and love as well. But we find out that it's the other way. We actually attack the child. We actually attack the child that is not doing, in quote, how or behaving the way it is that we want them to behave. Relationship trumps control in parenting. All right? Relationship trumps control in parenting. And that is something that must be at the back of your mind as you are a parent. Are you following me? Are we together? I can see that we have 205 parents watching live. Amazing. Remember that you can share this link with your family and your friends, and you can also always catch replays at your time. But being here live at the cathedral, what can be more than that? We call this live session the cathedral. So you're welcome here. All right, so thank you for joining me again and again. Now, do you know how you can influence the results? Because you can influence the results. That's the interesting thing. You can influence the result of what happens to your child later on in their lives. But the question will be, do you really know how you can influence that result? Many of us don't. How do you begin to influence that result? Teaching them moral competencies. There's something we call moral competencies. Now, in the month of November, part of what we do is about teaching competencies, moral competencies in the academy, all right? That's when we talk about, building relationships and all of that. So the Inner Circle program is a program that runs annually. That's actually where we run a system for parents in the academy. And, they will tell you that this is just like a tip of the iceberg whenever you listen to us on Tuesday, all right? And what are these moral competencies we're talking about? We're talking about fairness. We're talking about empathy. We're talking about decency. We're talking about self-sacrifice. We're talking about responsibility. We're talking about royalty. We're talking about service, honesty, honor, duty. Do you know that honor is a skill? And do you know that honor trumps obedience in the line of parenting? All right, time won't permit me to actually be able to break this down. A child with strong moral values will become a happy adult. Do you know that you cannot raise a child who will become a happy adult without strong moral values? I like the way Martin Seligman, a happiness expert, says it. He says that happiness is the result of developing character strength. And what is that character strength? We're talking about humility, self-control, love for learning, industriousness, leadership, caution, playfulness, and what I will call the 10 self-concepts in parenting. And part of what we're going to be doing at the upcoming Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro is to teach you the 10 self-concepts in parenting. We're going to be teaching that because there's no conversation on sex without teaching self-control, without teaching self-esteem, without teaching self-leadership, without teaching self-discipline. All of these 10 concepts, to learn but a few, is actually the bedrock of that conversation that you're having. The reason you did the same thing that your parents told you not to do as regards sex conversation is because there was no deliberate attempt to actually teach and form strong character base. So it's quite a lot. It's a lot. All right. And you have things like self-reliance, dependability, chastity. These are all part of the conversation. Okay? So the question is, how do we raise children with strong moral values? Let's move quickly. Number one, make it relevant to his world. Make it, help me write, who are the scribes? Make it relevant to his word. If a conversation, all right, is a conversation, isn't or value system isn't teaching your child or making it relevant, trust me, you will miss it. So it's important to note that making it relevant to his word, whatever it is that you want to teach your child, the first thing you want to teach is how can it become relevant to my child's word. Now, what do? Values are not theory, and they are not to be assumed either. They are very practical. Very, very practical. Now, where do you start? Creating your family values. That's how you're going to make it relevant to their world. Creating your family values. Now, if you are listening to me and you do not have a family value, mission, and vision, you are headed nowhere. See, have you ever seen anybody at all right, that you know, that wakes up in the morning and does not know, said and say, oh, I want to travel to Lokoja, and then no, I want to travel anywhere, and then goes to the airport and just stays anywhere. Or you get into the bus station and say, I am just going anywhere. There is nobody that gets to any destination called anywhere. And unfortunately, that's how many of us are parenting. That's how many of us are parenting. We are parenting and we are going anywhere. There's no vision, there's no mission, there's no nothing. Little wonder when you join the academy, the first thing we make you do is to build a family mission, a family vision, and also a family, system. Everybody who gets into your family understands what this family is created for. Every family is created, all right? Every family is created to actually fulfill a purpose. But if the purpose of a thing is not known, what do you think will happen? Abuse is inevitable. So many families don't even know what it is that their family is for. Likewise, the children. So the children are out there, and when something happens, you come down on the child and you say things like, don't you know the family of who you're coming from? We were said those things. A lot of parents said those things to you. But you don't know. Unfortunately, you don't know, because it is not that there's nothing that puts it together to say this is where this family is going to. We have a family value guide. You can get it in our store to get a copy to create that. All right. If you are getting into the academy, for instance, for parents who are on the waiting list of the inner circle, all right, you will find out that the first thing you're going to do is to create a family value, document it. If it's not documented, then it is not valuable. If it's not documented, it is not valuable. That's why you heard in the scriptures, you hear people like the children of Abraham saying, Isaac saying, what God told the God of my fathers, what he told my father. How did he know? Because there was a documentation of how the family must run. Without any documentation, that's why when it comes to when you want to read your will, if it's not documented, it's not a will. If it's not documented, it is not a family mission or vision or constitution. Your family constitution must be documented. All right. And part of sex education, sex conversation talks about you. How can you relate to your children about you when you don't even understand you? A lot of us don't understand who we are. And you need to entrench these values in them. Number 2, what are you modeling? Now, many of us will achieve a better result in parenting, not because we are better. Not because we are perfect either, but because we're intentional. Because we are intentional. If we're intentional about what you're modeling, then a lot of things won't happen. For instance, I see a lot of parents say, oh, we don't lie in our family. I always teach my children to be honest and all of that. But I tell you something for free. Many of the times, that value is actually not lived intentionally because you do not have an accountability system in your parenting journey that holds you to the things that you do or do not do. I remember a parent reached out to me one day and said, oh, I went to my children's school and I lied about something. And she said to me, it's not because I don't lie, but because I have become so intentional that the moment I told that lie, I realized that I have made a mess of a process. And it got me to a point where I was able to get back to my child and say, no, this isn't right. And because I am not infallible, this is not morally right. And I take responsibility for it. Without an intentional process, without an accountability system, you will continue to fail and think that you're going the right direction. Intentions are not enough. You can have the intentions. You can love your child. Love is not enough. You can love your child and kill your child. You can have good intentions and yet your children will still not be raised the way they should be raised. Very important. So intentionality is not a journey to perfection. Intentionality is a journey, to understand the process. And the moment you commit yourself to an intentional system, you will find out that it's not about whether you're perfect or all of that. It becomes it becomes about taking the right direction. Field results. So what are you modeling? A parent went to I went to an amusement park with the kids. My children were over a particular age to be able to enter the amusement park. And that was, all the way in Paris. And of course, this was a parent seated right beside us, all right? A Nigerian parent. And as we were going in, the children were obviously over that age. This woman had to lie that her children were less than the age, just so that she could get a free ticket into the park. What are you modeling? Now, this didn't only put their children in an uncomfortable position. They also will learn that cheating is okay under certain circumstances. See, when you become a parent, you lose the privileges to behave anyhow, to do whatever works for you. I hear parents say things like, oh, I'm going to do whatever works for me. What are they saying? This works for me. That it works for you doesn't necessarily mean that it's good or right for your child. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Some people will say, oh, I'm staying in an abusive home because I'm doing it for my children. It works for me. It works for us. That's how marriage works for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for your child. So intentions are not enough. Good intentions are not enough. Because you can love your children and kill your children without knowing that you're doing that. So love isn't enough. So I love my child is not a parenting plan. Let me say that again. I love my child and I know what is good for my child. It's not a parenting plan. A plan is actually something intentionally crafted, structured with knowledge that has an accountability process to it. That's what a plan is. Without an accountability process, that plan is neither here nor there. Because implementation will be determined, all right, by the process, how, everything is put, together in that process. So when we talk about sex conversation, we talk about the you. So part of the curriculum we're putting up in the sex conversation is you as the most important piece. And that's why we say that in the school of sex conversation, the curriculum is you. Because I found that when you, become a parent, a lot of things is now dependent on you. If your parenting isn't changing you, you're not parenting well. Quote me anywhere. If your parenting isn't changing you, there's something wrong with that parenting you're practicing. Because parenting is built to recreate you as an individual. So it's not, what are you modeling is not about us saying, oh, you just want to prove perfection. No. It's about intentionality. It's about intentionality. So I love my child and I know what is good for my child. It's not a parenting plan. A parenting plan is filled with structures, with knowledge base. I had an accountability, a well thought out process of accountability to it. Without accountability, you're dead. I tell my children that you see this thing of freedom. Freedom is an illusion. Anybody who wants to actually create anything valuable can never tell themselves, I am free to do whatever I want. So when you say things like, I can do whatever works for me, that's a taint in the freedom system. And that's not what works. It is what works in the system. Everything in life operates based on principles and systems. And without principles and systems, you make a mess. You make a mess. So your parenting, the parenting structure is created to reform you. Your parenting structure is created to reform you. So if it's not reforming you, you're still the way you are. Somebody told me, I've always loved to just wear whatever I want, wear a bomb shirt and just come into my house and all of that. I have a son that is 12. That's his business, I beg. Will I stop living my life because I'm a parent? Newsflash. The day you take up the responsibility of parenting, you have signed up. You don't own yourself anymore. That's what you have done. So, all these, I can do whatever works for you, is not a parenting plan. Whatever works for you is in a plan because it's not sustainable, because you are limited in yourself. When you parent from only what you know, you limit yourself and you limit your children forever. When you parent from a system, a knowledge bank, you would give your children wings to fly beyond you. Because you are limited in yourself. So if it's all about what it is that you know, you will limit your children and you can kill them forever. Just because is what I know. It's not enough. What you know, it doesn't matter what level you are listening to me, pastor's wife, whoever you are, what you know is not enough. You can never know enough. It's not possible. I don't even know enough. It's not possible. What you know is not enough. Because when you depend only on your wisdom, you become a foolish person. Because wisdom is in knowing the things others know that you do not know. That's one thing. It's a definition I learned from my pastor, Bishop David Oyedebo. And that has stuck in my head for life. If you're not able to learn to understand men of wisdom, then of course, there's a limit. You've limited yourself. And in turn, you have limited your children. You have limited your children. So it's important that you understand that modeling is a key tool in this system. And you tell your children things like, if you tell a lie, you're going to go to hellfire. How? But you're telling a lie every day and you're not going to hellfire. So what are you talking about? And that's why we're creating a system of hypocrisy in our parenting system. Because we're not holding ourselves accountable. You cannot hold yourself accountable without a structure. It's not possible. You can't wake up and say, if you do not have a system that holds you accountable, you will do anything you want. And trust me, anything you want doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because that will be you limiting yourself. Number 3 thing that you must do is that you must create an intentional social roadmap for your Gen Z. You must create an intentional social roadmap for your Gen Z. All right? For the parents in our academy, they understand exactly what I mean by saying create an intentional roadmap for your Gen Z. Now, these days, a lot of the times when we were growing up, we had a system where, you could go out, you could be friends with anybody, which didn't necessarily help us. Our parents were not intentional about the people we met, the kind of friends we met, and all of that. And that's why abuse was so high in our time. Unspoken abuse. Priests, name it. Because they were not intentional about the system. How be that we were even able to actually understand some things, by trial and error. But right now, your children do not even have the trial and error experience anymore. And then they are shut down. And then we are also parenting from a lot of fears. There are a lot of fearful parenting around. I see quite a number of parents, you are afraid. That's why you don't want your child to go out and play. You don't want them to go out with people. You just want them to be inside your house. Again, if you depend only on your wisdom on this journey, you will become foolish, including myself. It doesn't matter whether I'm the one speaking to you or not. It has nothing to do with that. So an intentional roadmap for your Gen Z, all right? Clara is here. Clara recently, was telling me that, Coach, I want to actually put it in a structure, in a document to create a system. A parent reached out to me last year when we finished that creating, a social roadmap. And she said to me, after I went through the social roadmap, I realized that where I was living is going to be a disadvantage for my child. They moved city. There are some things you know. When you come in contact with such knowledge, it moves you to another system altogether. And don't kid yourself. The environment you raise your child will affect who your child becomes later on in life. I learned that from my dad as a very young child. It will affect you, your child, later on in life. Because we're a product of, parenting programming, including what happens in our environment. And you cannot influence the kind of friends that your children will eventually make, but you can influence their environment. How do you do that? You create a system from day one. Remember that when I started this session, I told you that the most important person by the time your child is turning 8 and going to 10 will become their peers. Is it possible to create a system where those peers are the kind of peers that are parented alike like them? Yes, the answer is yes. I've done it. And I can tell you for free, I have quite a number of parents right here watching me, right in our academy, who have done the same thing. So influence is a key tool teenagers use to learn. So when your teenager comes to you to say, oh, I want, I don't have friends. My friends are all running. I just want to do this and all of that. All these friends, they are not, my friend did this to me or didn't do that to me. And then you go to your teenager and say, you don't need friends. That's your first error. Your first error. Because social connection is one of the most important things to a teenager. You can't take it away. You can't take it away. Social connection is one of the most important things. So while you're telling your child, you don't need friends, can't you work on your own? You are killing your child. Again, if you depend only on what you know, you can actually destroy your child. All right, thank you, Auntie Tima. Your home is too small for your children. Too small. So there are a lot of the influences, environment. So every year, for instance, thank God that Auntie Tima is here. Every year, for instance, we take our children to a boot camp, that Auntie Tima organizes on a yearly basis. And that is part of us choosing our children's environment. We have teenagers who are going to be teen in a few months. Choosing our children's environment. You cannot choose your children's friends, but you can choose the environment where they will make choices of the kind of friends they would have. It's a big deal. A big deal. Because influence is key, is a key tool for your teenager. No matter how you fight it, your teenager will be influenced. The question will be, will your teenager be influenced negatively or positively? That's whether you are, going to be influenced or not. It will happen. It will happen. We are all a product of the programs that we have. So instead of just waiting and saying, oh, I'm training my children alone, I'm training. That's why I tell the parents in the academy or the parents who are even taking our courses, when you come, bring your friends, because it will be a determining factor for your child. One of the reasons why I do what I do, if it's about creating a system that is sound, trust me, I've actually been able to create a very sound system, but does it end in my home? It doesn't. Are my children not going to interact with people? That's the point. So what I have done is to create the environment where my children will find themselves. The problem is that you're waiting to when you can control your children. If a friend appears that is carrying one dreadlocks and your child is not something that you want and all of that, and all of a sudden you start getting angry, what kind of it? Let that friend not come to my house again. You are the one that failed, not the child. You are the one. You failed to create a social roadmap for your Gen Z. Unfortunately. But these are the conversations. But of course, it will be easy for you to say, you don't know how to make newspaper. Do you know that ability to actually know the kind of friends to choose is a sex conversation? And that's what I'm going to be teaching parents at Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro. Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro. We're going to be teaching you wild friendship, how teaching your children the value and how to choose their friends is a key conversation in sex conversation, because your teenager must be influenced by their peers. Must. I didn't say will. Must. The question will be, will it be a negative influence or will it be a positive influence? That's a question you need to be asking yourself. Positive influence or negative influence, the choice is yours. You can actually create a system where I have seen friends of my daughter turn, because there are influences around her. And all of them have become a bookworm. I've also seen my daughter learn to socialize more just because she had a friend who is actually very social. See, the influence your child's peers will bring, you can't match it. So you see all this, I know what to do. I have raised my children and I'm going to just soak them and just pray for them and all of that. God forbid, is not a parenting plan. You cannot influence the friends that your children make, but you can influence their environment. You can intentionally create a system, a social roadmap for them. Influence is a must, as long as they are not going to just live in your home. Except your children will be tied to your apron and live in your home. Even while they are tied, they will watch TV. Influence is a key thing. It's a must. They must get influenced. The question will be, so all this peer pressure. Peer pressure is not particularly a bad thing. Pressure can actually be used as a tool in your parenting system. If you know, you know. The parents in the inner circle know what I'm talking about. Peer pressure can be used as a positive tool in your parenting system. Because you don't know how to use it, of course, you won't be able to use it. You will see peer pressure as a negative thing. No, circles can be a tool to actually help raise your children better. Failure, like I tell the parents in the inner circle, is a tool for parenting. Knowing how to turn it to a positive tool, that's what makes it, a tool. But if you don't know how to, then of course, that's a waste in totality. The next one is that you need to create a media plan. If your child's value is going to be built, strong character system, then you need a media plan. I see quite a number of parents leave media to chance. Your children watch whatever, they see whatever, they're on the screen from morning till night. You are setting them up for a failed system. It's not a curse, it is the truth. What I share with you, they are facts, they are truths, and they are not to scare you. They are to actually motivate you, to push you to get more knowledge, to begin to experiment in a system of accountability. Very, very important. So many of you do not have a media plan. You don't have a media plan. You don't even know what it is that I'm talking about. Your children are allowed to watch whatever. They're allowed to do whatever. They're allowed to, do anything, watch anything. And of course, these children pay the price. There is no conversation on character or even sex conversation without tech conversation. Any conversation, because it's part of our sex educate your child like a pro, we're also going to be teaching you why you need a tech conversation. If your children do not understand tech conversations, believe you me, your children will continue to be influenced by the media. Because remember that I told you that pop culture is the number 3 influence system. Pop culture must influence your child. The question will be, what kind? Are you prepared for what is coming at all? Are you really prepared for what is coming? I've raised a teen who is currently married, and I can tell you for free, raising a teenager is another ball game. And then if you do not prepare a base, when that child is 0, when I'm talking about media plan, we started a media plan from the time the twins were born. So imagine, if you do not have a structure, a base for your child from 0, trust me, by the time that child turns 10, you go to the 4th floor, and then you become very irrelevant, and you begin to fight. And many of the times, that fight doesn't pay you. You fight your children, you fight the other adults in their lives. Whether there will be other adults, there will be. There will be. The other adults, they believe, there will be. That is not you. They will be. Can be their teacher, it can be somebody they even met online. It can be anybody. It is there. The fact that you don't know about some of these things that I'm sharing doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It is there. Your children have it. The question will be, do you know? What do you know? Can you influence the system? Can you influence the system? And influence is not about force. It's about trust. Influence is not about control. It's actually about creating a system that helps your child to really look at you and trust you with information. That's what influence is about. All right? There's a research that says that children that watch less TV and that their content are censored actually have stronger characters, especially when it comes to purity. Yeah, because there is a censor. There's somebody watching out for what it is that they are doing. The screen changes the way, everything when it comes to character, is configured. And on the other hand, also, if you're a parent who keeps their child on a screen, that can reduce the attention span and the executive functioning skills of your child. The parents in the inner circle know my rule on screen. Anyway, so I won't give you that ultimatum. There's no need. When you get into the inner circle, I can give you the ultimatum and I insist on it. That's why accountability does the job. All right? And it said that only 2% of children are found to read at an advanced level. I have seen parents come into the academy. When parents come into our academy, they haven't read anything in years. They were taught to pass exams. And until they get in there, they begin to see the what we're talking about, the content. Why reading is actually something that they must do. All right? Influence is not force. Influence is respect and trust. If your child cannot trust you, if your child cannot respect you, trust me, you can't influence the child. And influence is a more powerful tool than control. When you influence, you actually have more stability. You actually have more ground to actually help your child instead of just being, talking about control. Again, relationship trumps control in parenting. The last one, the second to the last one, teach them the 10 self-concepts. If you're going to raise children who are morally sound, you need to teach them the self-concept. All right? And then for those who are asking, creating a media plan will have a tool called the media plan, all right? The family media guide. That can help you create a strong system, documented, that your children are aware of, and they will be able to follow through, all right? A media plan. I'm sure that the parents who have listened to me for a while, parents in the academy, understand exactly what I'm saying. Teach them about the 10 self-concepts. Time is not going to permit me to share about the 10 self-concepts, but it's a whole module in Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro. And for those of us who are asking about Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, it is coming up on the 11th of July, all right? It's a 5 module, okay? And we left the early bird offer till the 8th. So in 72 hours, this early bird offer goes off the table. And what you're going to learn as Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, quote me anywhere, you haven't learned it anywhere. That's what I said. Hold me to my words. So when we say that TIP is the expectation, we ain't lying to you. When we say that we are the Harvard of parenting, trust me, that's where we are. That's what the academy is about. All right. So we're going to be teaching you, all right. We're going to be teaching you at that 10 self-concept, self-identity. Do you know that no matter how much sex conversations you have, and you do not understand how to ingrain the 10 self-concepts, this 10 self-concept, Google it, you won't find it. We created it. All right. And if you don't understand how to engrave this 10 self-concept in the system of your sex conversation is blah blah dash. It's not useful. Okay. And it's a hopeful model. We're talking about self-control. We're talking about self-preservation. We're talking about self-expressions, conversations that we never have. All right. And we don't even know how to teach it to our children. And one of the things that I say about Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro is that we actually overshare on this particular challenge. The reason is simple. I am very passionate about sex conversation. I was almost raped by a priest when I was 13. So, and one of the things that saved me was understanding the 10 self-concepts. That's one of the things that saved me. I wasn't taught intentionally, but I would realize that part of the system that was built from there. And that's one of the things that we're putting together. And we're also sharing a 30-day whole book. I finished doing it, and my PA said to me, "Ma, I don't think you should share this thing for free. It's actually so unfair. It took us days, months to be able to put this together. But I am willing and glad to share with you that 30-day step. We're only sharing it to parents who are coming for Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro. I am passionate about the way we are having sex conversations because I have seen that all we say about sex conversation is, oh, don't let anybody touch your private part, and which is actually the conversation. We are selling fear. If you sell fear to a teen or a preteen, that child will try you. You don't sell fear in this conversation. And that's what we're reforming. We're teaching you how not to sell fear. Even for your toddler, if you sell fear to them, they will try you. Because human beings are created to actually be adventurous. We're created curious. So this, we left it at 2,000 naira instead of 15,000. So there's a link to pay for it. On this video description, you will see the link. So you can just quickly, pay for it and be part of it. Trust me, on that 8th, my team will not be answering to a lot of people. We currently have 2,000, more than almost 2,500 parents who are already registered to be part of this process. The parents who attended the Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro challenge last year know exactly what I mean when I say that this curriculum is made in heaven. You can't find it. I share the curriculum with you, put it on social media, on whatever, Google, you won't find it. It's not there. All right? It's specifically crafted in a different, kind of manner that will wow you. So we will teach that 10 self-concept and how you can actually entrench it in your parenting, process, and also give you that 30 days guide that touches all of these aspects of these 10 self-concepts so that you can have your conversations meaningfully. And then the last one, start sex conversations from birth. If you're going to raise children who are strong moral values, then you must pay attention to sex conversations. Many of the times we're not paying attention to sex conversation. That's one of the reasons, we're having a lot of back and forth with a lot of children. We need to pay attention to the conversations that we are having with our children. All right? And one of it that is very most important is the sex conversation. And the problem is not whether we're having sex conversation or not. Many of us are having sex conversation. The problem is that we are not having sex conversation the right way. That's the problem. And many of us are unintentionally having sex conversation, but then again, we are selling fear. Fear is an inappropriate language of instruction. If you have heard me, I must have said that countless times. Do not sell fear. It doesn't help you. The question is, do you know exactly what it is to teach? It's not whether we are teaching values or not. We are all teaching values, every single one of us. But the question will be, how many of us really are actually teaching from a curriculum, all right? From a curriculum that is proven. From a curriculum that is proven. It's not what you find on Google. I know that many times people listen to me, and they go on Google to go and search what are the things. You won't find it. You won't find it. It's not a Google material. All right. The Harvard curriculum is not on Google. That's what the TIP Academy is about. So that will be the end. Start sex conversation from birth. You're asking me, how do I start sex conversation from birth? The first thing you want to do is to register for Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro. If you're not updating your knowledge on this journey, you go stale. Because what your children know will wow you. It will shock you. It will shock you. All right? It will shock you. So you need to pay attention to this conversation. Even if you were at Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro last year, I didn't teach the 10 self-concepts. It wasn't part of it. It's a whole new, crafted curriculum. When I tell you that this curriculum came from heaven, I know exactly what it is I'm saying. All right. So that's what. So if you want to be part of the Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro challenge, the details are on my screen. If you have questions, I'm ending this class at exactly 3 p.m. Is an hour class. If you have questions in the next 5 minutes, we'll be answering your questions. All right, and we will be having that conversation with you. If you have questions about anything, the academy, the Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro challenge, anything it is, I can see Inner Circle parents. I see you guys. Thank you. Inner Circle parents are confirming to you that the curriculum is not on Google. All right, you can't find it. So we need to all keep updating our knowledge. We need to all, keep learning what it is to do. Last year when we talked about sex educate your child like a pro, we talked about LGBTQ. Now there is two X, then a QI, and all of that. Then there's A, there's I. It has become longer. So when we are teaching it this year, we're teaching it from a different perspective. We're no longer teaching it from what we taught last year. It's not possible. I have even gone to update my own knowledge of what I'm going to teach you. I can't teach you what it is I have taught you because that knowledge, some of it has become obsolete. And if you're not learning, it means that you're dying. If you're not learning, it means that you're dying. So you need to learn. You need to learn and make learning continuous. All right? True spirit. Yes, Omolola. I see you guys, senior yarders. True spirits, whatever it is that, they call all of those things that they call, all right? But there's so much to learn. I just want to encourage you as a parent listening to me. Do not feel discouraged if you haven't started in time. If you haven't started in time, please start now. The Chinese proverb will say that the best time to plant a tree was yesterday, and the next best time to plant a tree is now. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can just put challenge, and the team will send you details to pay for this session so that you can get a link and pay directly. So easy to pay, all right? Or you can just take a screenshot of my screen and then make payments. This is interesting. We had over 300 people watching live. Amazing. And you can just reach out to the team. The number is there, and they will quickly add you to that session. Please do not do the fire brigade approach. The team will be overwhelmed. I can assure you already they're overwhelmed, registering 300 to 400 people on a daily basis. Please, we beg you, make your payment as early as you can. On the 8th, you might be fighting. And when you reach out to me, I'll tell you I do not have any power. I don't confirm payments. All right. So you need to actually put a lot of all of that in perspective. Okay. So make your payment today so that you can run and be part of that conversation. I can assure you that being in that sex educate your child like a pro will change your whole mindset about the conversation on sex, even about the conversation on, parenting itself. Trust me, when you're done with sex educate your child like a pro, you will see that you just scratched the surface, and you will see that there's just so much, all right, to learn on this journey. I have parents who have been in the academy for the past 3 years, and trust me, we're still all learning. So you can't get to any place on your parenting journey and say, oh, because I've gotten here, I've stopped learning. It's not possible, all right? Learning is a continuum, and creating a system of accountability is a key, pointer, all right? If you want to get a link, for instance, you're not in Nigeria and you want to make payment for sex educate your child like a pro, trust me, 2,000 naira it's not worth one guide in the academy. So you are accessing this challenge free, trust me, because the book we're giving you is more than 2,000 naira. You are practically accessing this challenge free, okay? And if you miss it, you want to book a one-on-one session if your child gets into pornography, because it will happen, and you call me, trust me, I'm not a cheap coach at all. I am not. I'm not cheap to assess. No, I'm not. So if you're not, the only people that I come cheap to are the parents in the inner circle. And if you're not in there, okay, of course, So you would want to get this opportunity. Can you do another challenge on emotional intelligence? We'll have a session, you have a course on it, so you can actually reach out to the academy and gain access to that. All right? My children must not pay for my ignorance. 10 times Mama Cathedral. So Mama Cathedral is a name that the parents in the inner circle call me. They call me VC, Mama Cathedral, Sergeant Major, all kinds of names. Don't mind them. All right? So when you hold people accountable, of course, you are going to be named. And it's okay. I would take all the names. And shout out to all of the parents in the inner circle. And thank you so much. And I also saw Anetima was here. Anetima runs a boot camp for children, all right, teenagers, preteens. And my children are perpetual boot camp attendants. If there's anything like that, let your children explore the world. Let your children go and learn from other people. You are not the only one. Your knowledge is not, you're not all knowing. You're not God. It's only God that is all knowing. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. If you have more questions, you can reach out to my team using the number on the screen. Thank you. I really do appreciate that you're here every day, Tuesday, 2 p.m. With us. It is not something that we take for granted. Thank you, and see you again at the session. But Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro starts on Monday. And of course, do not bother. It's online. You can always, you can always access that course. All right. We have coaches. They are learning. All of us are learning. The coaches who work in the academy are learning. I'm learning. I'm constantly learning. I learn from even the parents in the academy. Trust me. And it has helped me a lot as a person. All right. I was there last year. I've registered this year too. I will continue learning. Thank you so much, everybody. And Tetima, thank you. We're going to share more details and about the boot camp with you also with Anetima. And don't forget, register for TIP annual conference. It is coming up in the last week in July. You don't want to miss it. The lineup of coaches has even wowed me, myself. I am wowed with the lineup of coaches. I'm ready, set to learn. And that is going to be the last week in July. I've taken 2 more minutes and I'm going. All right. Because I can see my accountability partners hovering around and asking me why I'm spending extra 2 minutes in this session. Goodbye. Thank you.